Okay, this is your Sleepless God again, back with uh the the demon or the monster of Auschwitz, the X-Men What If that we've been doing for a while now. Pretty good. So, last time we left off, sorry, voice a little bit rough here. Uh, Last time we left off, they started, uh, like started getting with the team and started like building up. They finally got with the Secret Service, and they started building X-Men where they got their crewmates, and then their base was attacked. But before that, the X-Men groupies between Charles, uh, Magneto, and Gabriel all choose these groups and kind of watched them, kind of showed them, like just looked at them and can be like, well, let's see what they can do, kind of like thing. And they put them in a room by themselves and like just said, kind of let loose, kind of just do what you want, kind of. And with that, Gabriel knew he was gonna they were gonna show off a little bit. They were gonna, just rip things apart, and he was gonna allow it because he doesn't care about the Secret Service and all that bitch ass energy that they have. But after they was attacked, that's when he was like, "It's time to go home. It's time to go back to the X-Men's Secret Service and back to cut these fuckers off. Say we can do it better. We can do it what we can do, and no shit can ever get us." So they go back home. That's where I left off last time. So let's start the video. So when they come back home, it's true. Like, kids are already there. So there's a decent amount of kids there. So when they walk in, they're not the first X-Men. Or they are the first X-Men, so like the team group. But they're not the first mutants here. They're definitely not going to be the first ever mutants. So these kids are like running around. Some of them are like grown as adults, just trying to learn how to survive with their mutant ability. And some of them are just like, people. Like, not like people, but like children who are just like running around. Like, you have the youngest to like 6 or 7 to like the oldest of like 20, almost like 23. And like Xavier starts explaining, like, this is my home. This is my place of residence. And he starts explaining to him like this is for mutants. These are for people like you who get trained onto how to use their powers. And they start doing that. So with Beast, he starts doing the technology version of that. Like he doesn't need to learn how to release his beast. He already has released his beast. So he starts working on technology and like science and all that stuff, because he needs to work on like how to like build the things he wants and like how to master this ability of his, because he's a super genius, but he needs to figure out how to become more than what his like ability stands for. Because like he still feels like a monster, but now he's becoming a scientist. Ooh, not good, bro. But after that, like Stream Kid, they know it's a muscle, so they know how, like, Banshee. I think that's his name. Banshee. It's a muscle, so they start using it as its full capacity. And Gabriel really wants the full capacity of this. Like, they use it as flying, yes, and they push him to that level, yes. But he also wants it to make it as supersonic, because sound is incredibly fast. And he knows that. Everyone knows that. So if you magnify it, let's say you can make it faster. Like, you say that you can make it louder. Now you're going to rock some ships. So you're not going to be worrying about a lot of shit. So he's trying to use his ability as a cannon a little bit, and sending Beast off of some things. Now Magneto has to drain a little bit of smoke, because he's still working with anger. He's still working with rage, because he has a one mind goal to kill this guy. But guess what? Gabriel has to train with him, keep him calm, because he's away from his wife and kids for a while. And that's his calming factor. So Gabriel has to be a steady point. He has to be like, look at me in my eyes. I know the shit he's done. I was part of the shit he done. We have to steady ourselves. We can't just rip him apart. Our claws are already filled with blood. We cannot just kill him. We have to be human. And he's like, yeah, I want it so bad. Fucking kick his ass. I know, I do too. But we have to be human. We can't be monsters. And that's training goes with them. You know, control with the energy guy. He's just working on control. And that's the hardest thing, really. Control is just the hardest thing in your body to master completely. Because control is just, it's that reaching down inside and figuring out what you can do yourself. And what you need to. And Xavier's great at this. Way better than Gabriel could ever do. Gabriel can focus, cut it down to a certain point sometime and figure out how to make it better with some devices and stuff like that. But Charles can push. And Charles can push people to do things that they might think of, like pushing someone off of a ginormous fucking satellite dish. Well, okay. Most people would not think of that. But Charles definitely would. Charles thinks that, like, if I have to push someone off a satellite dish, I would. And why would I do that? So I can push them. To put himself in danger, he would with instantaneous fact. He's a mere basic mortal compared to Gabriel, compared to Magneto, compared to the guy who can chuck literal energy waves. He's mortal. And he puts himself in the middle of the lines to teach his students to control, to trust him, because he is a bad person. Feel like shit, but you know what? No one gives a shit. Then the news shows up, and the government says, "We're gonna need you, because they're gonna send nukes." That's when they start messing with things, and that's where the world seems like it's gonna end. And this is when the X-Force joins in. They have to do stuff. So they get on their ship and they send off to sea, ready to go to war. So when they get there, obviously they use the shrinking kid to sound wave the ocean to make sure that he's there. And they actually use a device that he, instead of like having to go into the water, use his blast to like collect them and maybe be tracked, he can use a device on the actual ship itself where he can scream down below it, because there's no sonar shit, so he can scream down, hit the water, and bounce off the underground, and he can do that from a large radius as well. So his radius it goes from like maybe 3 to 4 miles, like across, maybe a couple kilometers down, to almost 50 to 60 miles down, like an area effect. And he can really get that down. He can really just like market supplies, just, and he gets him like instantaneously. And this is when, so sorry, just thinking about this. So I'm just thinking about what I should plan out. So they go to war. What started out first is because they have such a wide area of effect. Instantaneously, Magneto, Scream Guy, Energy Boy are up. Gabriel's basically going to be the tank. If anything goes shittily, that's kind of their job. Just to be like, well, fuck. And this is when Magneto picks up the submarine. Now the submarine's still made out of metal that's not completely magnetic. So when he starts picking up, it's have a hard time at the beginning, but he doesn't care anymore. His anger's gone. He rips the fucking thing out of the ocean, and that's when any guy rips a fucking hole into the center, just ripping a hole, and Magneto's just up there holding it, just trying to grab onto it, just trying to rip it apart as much as he physically possibly can. Scream guy, and Charles and Mystique go inside. Now, what they see is Teleporting Boy, obviously. As Magneto's still holding it up. As Charles, what he does is he mind controls everyone to see just a couple inches to the left. So, like, if a punch is going to, like, the right, they would see the punch a couple inches off. So when they try to dodge it, they would still get hit. So, same with guns, same with bullets, everything. So, the devil guy starts teleporting, trying to dodge. Mystique finally gets an over on him, grabs his arm, push him, shoves him straight to the wall, puts a gun to his head, and fires the trigger twice. Bang, bang. Technically not straight to his head, to his shoulder to wound him, and then smash his head to knock him out. So, like, we're not monsters here. He doesn't actually kill him. He doesn't kill him. Something else will, but maybe. I mean, Diamond Girl. She's not even here. Angel starts fighting. Now, Angel tries to do some shit, tries to do something cool. But really, nah, she can't. Charles is like messing with her mind, can't fucking, even flying's hard for her. So, again, Magneto's holding the fucking ship up. So, Magneto's still lifting up. Angel's getting fucked. So, the main bad guy himself, he just decides done is over. His team is losing. If he doesn't do something quick, he's gonna fucking die. So he blows it up. He uses just enough just to blow up his area and send the entire thing. So what Magneto tries to do is concentrate his energy to rip the ship just an area where he can concentrate, control it enough to bend it just enough where he can control it, where his people, his friends, his comrades will not get hurt, but he can't. They still blow up, and the ship goes with it. So it blows up, and a fucking piece of metal hits the wing, starts going. Shrapnel goes flying. As everything is moving with it, as Magneto still has a holding on to the actual thing itself, because he knows Charles is in there, and he knows Mystique is in there. And he's just holding that thing, because he's like, if anything goes fucking wrong, I'm keeping these people in my arms no matter what, so I can at least bury their corpses, at least not like my mother, have them to love. So the ship lands on the beach, just boom, as he carefully, even as unconsciously as possible, so even with his eyes closed, everything bloody, he lands the thing softly, just half of it, as softly as he can, and he just, blood curses his face as Gabriel gets out, holds his cheek, goes a little bit of God energy, heals his wounds completely, because shrapnel all across his body, and goes into the ship, goes into it, and just rips the door open, and he sees Charles, he sees Mystique, all unconscious, and he sees Energy Boy unconscious as well. Just all of them sleep as Stream guy comes in. He's like, what happens? Like, hey, you take these guys, get them out, come back to the ship. I'll deal with them. As that's when Magneto wakes up. Magneto wakes up. He realizes he sees Gabriel's gone. He runs out as he starts walking, and he looks. He can't see him, but he can sense him. He can sense that motherfucker absorbing nuclear energy, and he rips the door open. It's a hidden door, but he rips that thing fucking open. And he looks in and he sees this fucker. As you see Magneto in the back just rushing in, trying to get as close as possible. As they both look at each other and they say, "You remind me of something. Someone small, kind, too kind. Couldn't survive in this world." As he lets off the nuclear energy, he absorbs so much of it. And he says, "Let me show you what I did to him," as he grabs all of the nuclear energy and shoves it into Gabriel's face. And Gabriel grabs it and changes the energy to nuclear, godly. And he says, "Well, let me show you something as well." And he makes it into a coin. A old German coin. And he says, and that's when, obviously, Magneto shows up and he says, "I thought you told me we were not monsters. We were not supposed to kill." He says, "I lied." As he grabs a coin and shoves it through his head. It goes so fast that he doesn't even have time to absorb the energy, even if he could. Goes through his head, out the other end, grabs a coin, and just says, "Now I'm in peace." And snaps as the world goes back to normal. He was kind of in time stop as the world goes back to normal. As the body drops. The nuclear bombs start flying their way. Bombs start going. As he uses the coin and just flicks it. And it deletes the entire nuclear bombs, everything, and just says, looks over at Magneto and just says, he smiles and just says, "Blame it on me." And he looks over and he starts walking towards him. And he grabs his shoulder and just says, "But be happy." As he puffs into dust. As he smells like the smell of just like aroma of death and also godly energy pops out of the universe for a couple seconds. As Magneto looks around and he just says, as he looks and smiles, as he sees the person that killed his mom on the ground dead. Everyone else unconscious, like the people gone in this ship. And he says to Charles, Charles like, "What happened?" He's like, "Gabriel killed him." It's like, Charles like, "What?" It's like, "It's Gabriel's fault. Blame him." And Charles already knows because he read his mind. He just says, "Okay." As he unconnects to his mind, is that's when Magneto grabs the helmet from the desk of this man, puts it on his head, and just says, takes it off and just says, "Not a right fit." And this is where we're gonna end it off today. Hope you guys liked the video. I'll see you guys next time.